The Education Ministry has made significant changes to the national curriculum to cushion the learning loss expected because of Hurricane Melissa. However, the opposition is adamant it will be holding the government to account to ensure the learning recovery process is a success. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House, Acting Chief Education Officer Terrion Thomas Gale said the ministry has looked at the national standards curriculum and made changes to ensure students are not left behind. All 446 schools in the parishes worst impacted by Hurricane Melissa have now reopened. However, some schools have both face-to-face and virtual classes.
So we have moved for example, in mathematics for grade 4, we went through and we looked at all the objectives for mathematics. At grade 4, we had 124 objectives. What we did, we looked at the most essential objectives for mathematics. That means the students must achieve these in order to move to the next grade level. And we saw where we had 48 such objectives.
As a result, the Education Ministry said the revised curriculum has been distributed to all schools with soft copies available for download on the ministry's website. And Mrs. Thomas Gale is assuring the country that students will not be at a disadvantage despite some elements of the curriculum being removed.
Language arts, for example, we had 138 objectives at grade 6. We have condensed that to 90 objectives. I want to reassure the public that condensing to a smaller number of objectives, the students will not be at a loss.
Opposition spokesman on education Damian Crawford said he's happy that considerations were made for students in the parishes badly impacted by the hurricane. However, clear communication should be made with the relevant stakeholders to ensure there are no conflicts over students sitting harder versus easier exams, especially when it comes to PEP.
I believe they remove some of the curriculum so that they can focus on the math and the English. Now, the problem that we might face is that because it is a competitive thing for spaces, the GSAT, persons who get a better grade get the schools of their choice. I think that you might have complaints, especially about borderline schools. Like Manchester High might get students from St. Elizabeth who might be doing a different type of exam than Manchester High getting a student from Manchester who is doing the other type of exam. And that comparison may lead to persons finding disagreement if their person don't get the school of choice.
In the meantime, he stressed that the opposition will ensure the government is held accountable in the learning recovery process. And
Melissa wasn't a surprise as it relates to we had time to have meetings, planning and thinking. But there also must be a policy for transition moving forward. Yes, we'll use the school for shelter because the hurricane might be 7 hours, 9 hours, maybe a day. However, we must have a transition situation that they move away from the schools into other spaces that are less conducive for the emergency of the hurricane.